Hello, this is day 60 of reading one canto of the Divine Comedy every single day. We are on Canto 26 of the Purgatorio, which I will read from the Longfellow translation before giving some quick commentary. While on the brink, thus one before the other, we went upon our way. Oft the good master said, "Take thou heed, suffice it that I warn thee." On the right shoulder smote me now the sun, that, raying out, already the whole west changed from its azure aspect into white. And with my shadow did I make the flame appear more red, and even to such a sign shades saw I many, as they went, give heed. This was the cause that gave them a beginning to speak of me, and to themselves began they to say, "That seems not a factitious body." Then, towards me, as far as they could come, came certain of them, always with regard not to step forth where they would not be burned. O thou who goest, not from being slower, but reverent perhaps, behind the others, answer me, who in thirst and fire am burning. Nor to me only is thine answer needful, for all of these have greater thirst for it than for cold water Ethiop or Indian. Tell us how it is that thou makest thyself a wall unto the sun, as if thou hadst not entered as yet into the net of death. Thus one of them addressed me, and I straight should have revealed myself, were I not bent on another novelty that then appeared. For through the middle of the burning road there came a people face to face with these, which held me in suspense with gazing at them. There see I hastening upon either side each of the shades, and kissing one another without a pause, content with brief salute. Thus in the middle of their brown battalions, muzzle to muzzle, one ant meets another, perchance to spy their journey or their fortune. No sooner is the friendly greeting ended, or ever the first footstep passes onward, each one endeavors to outcry the other. The new-come people, "Sodom and Gomorrah!" The rest, "Into the cow Pasiphae enters, so that the bull unto her lust may run." Then, as the cranes, that to Riphaean mountains may fly in part, and part towards the sands, these of the frost, those of the sun, avoidant, one folk is going, and the other coming. And weeping they return to their first songs, and to the cry that most befitteth them. And close to me approached, even as before, the very same who had entreated me, attent to listen in their countenance. I, who their inclination twice had seen, began, "O souls secure in the possession, whenever it may be, of a state of peace, neither unripe nor ripened have remained my members upon earth, but here are with me with their own blood and their own articulations. I go up here to be no longer blind. A lady is above who wins this grace, whereby the mortal through your world I bring. But as your greatest longing satisfied may soon become, so that the heaven may house you which full of love is, and most amply spreads, tell me, that I again in books may write it. Who are you? And what is that multitude which goes upon its way behind your backs? Not otherwise with wonder is bewildered the mountaineer, and staring round is dumb, when rough and rustic to the town he goes. Then every shade became in its appearance. But when they of their stupor were disburdened, which in high hearts is quickly quieted, "Blessed be thou, who of our borderlands," he recommenced, who first had questioned us, "experience freightest for a better life. The folk that comes not with us have offended in that for which once Caesar, triumphing, heard himself called in contumely Queen. Therefore they separate, exclaiming, Sodom, themselves reproving, even as thou hast heard, and add unto their burning by their shame. Our own transgression was hermaphrodite, but because we observed not human law, following like unto beasts our appetite, in our opprobrium by us is read, when we part company, the name of her who bestialized herself in bestial wood. Now knowest thou our acts, and what our crime was. Wouldst thou perchance by name know who we are, there is not time to tell, nor could I do it. Thy wish to know me shall in sooth be granted. I'm Guido Gunicelli, and now purge me, having repented ere the hour extreme. The same that in the shades of Lycurgus 2 sons became, their mother re-beholding, such I became, but rise not to such height. The moment I heard name himself, the father of me and of my betters, who had ever practiced the sweet and gracious rhymes of love, and without speech and hearing, thoughtfully for a long time I went, beholding him. Nor for the fire did I approach him nearer. When I was fed with looking, utterly myself I offered ready for his service, with affirmation that compels belief. And he to me, Thou leavest footprints such in me, from what I hear, and so distinct, Lethe cannot efface them, nor make dim. But if thy words just now the truth have sworn, tell me what is the cause why thou displayest in word and look that dear thou holdest me. And I to him, those dulcet lays of yours, which, long as shall endure our modern fashion, shall make forever dear their very ink. Oh, brother, said he whom I point out, and here he pointed at a spirit in front, was of the mother tongue a better smith. Verses of love and proses of romance he mastered all, and let the idiots talk, who think the Lemosin surpasses him. To clamour more than truth they turn their faces, and in this way establish their opinion, ere art or reason has by them been heard. Thus many ancients with Guitone did, from cry to cry, still giving him applause, until the truth has conquered with most persons. Now, if thou hast such ample privilege, 'tis granted thee to go unto the cloister, wherein is Christ, the abbot of the college, to him repeat for me a pater noster, so far as needful to us of this world, where power of sinning is no longer ours. Then, to give place perchance to one behind, whom he had near, he vanished in the fire, as fish in water going to the bottom. I moved a little towards him, pointed out, and said that to his name my own desire and honorable place was making ready. He of his own free will began to say, So pleases me your courteous demand. I cannot and I will not hide me from you. I am Arnott, who weep and singing go. Contrite I see the folly of the past, and joyous see the hoped-for day before me. Therefore do I implore you by that power which guides you to the summit of the stairs, be mindful to assuage my suffering. Then hid him in the fire that purifies them. So, quick outline of the chapter. Dante comes close to the fire, and as usual, the souls notice that he is alive, and one of them comes close to ask, how are you here? Are you alive? How did that happen? Dante explains, and the soul reveals that he is Guido Gunicelli, who's apparently a poet that Dante really admires. And when Guido hears, oh, you really like my verses? Well, that guy over there, Arnaud, or Arnott, you should talk to him. He's even better than me, despite what everybody may think. So Dante goes and talks to him, and both of the poets simply, they're glad to see Dante. They're glad that he likes their work, but they say, please, just pray for us. We're almost to heaven. Just please pray for us now. That's the best thing now. One of my favorite lines is from the beginning, which says, Then some of them toward me began to strain, coming as close to me as they could come, most careful not to step out of the fire. It's an interesting image to see people careful not to step out of the fire instead of careful not to step into it. And it just brings us back to the idea, to the recollection that these souls have to undergo this to be purified for heaven. And in a way, this is true on earth as well. Through Jesus Christ, all suffering can be redeemed unto a higher end. And so while we would want to avoid suffering, once we're in it, we can in fact offer it up for a good cause. It is not just a waste. And so while we'll never love suffering, we can love the meaning of our suffering. And these souls in purgatory do that very well. A horde of souls comes and interrupts the conversation between Dante and Guido, and they call out Sodom and Gomorrah, examples of lust in the Bible for sure, and the souls who are closer to Dante, they yell out in response, Pasiphae and the bull. Now, as usual, Dante gives us a biblical and a classical example of the vice or virtue that he's speaking of. But what's interesting is that the two groups actually have committed slightly different sins. Both punished here, both needing to be purified here, but slightly different. The group calling out Sodom and Gomorrah was guilty of sodomy, whereas the group that's closer to Dante, that calls out Pasiphae and the bull, are actually guilty of heterosexual lust. Now, if you don't know, the story of Pasiphae and the bull, she was a Greek woman who was cursed by Zeus, I believe, or maybe it was Poseidon, I forget which one, to lust after a bull. Why is that the representation of their kind of sin? Guido explains that by their lust, they acted like animals. There was similar imagery in the Inferno near the Circle of the Wrathful and the Violent, which had man-beasts like centaurs and minotaurs guarding them, because by their sins, those men had made themselves into beasts. It's very similar here. But this specific criticism that it makes them bestial is actually observable from natural law, from natural phenomena. Not that those two are the same. Monogamy is almost completely unique to humankind. There are some animals that mate for life, but humans are among the minority there. Now, monogamy with love, ordered towards procreation consistently, especially when that union becomes a sacrament, is instilled with grace, has vows and promises given, that is 100% unique to humanity. That is how human sexuality is meant to be played out. And what Dante is saying here is that to choose a different end, a different use, a different purpose for that sexuality is to demean it, to demean oneself by it. That's all for today, though. I'll see you tomorrow.